Hi everyone. My name is Siddharth, and I'll be moderating this whole session today. And I welcome you all for this another great data series sessions. So we'll start in 2 or 3 minutes, and then by that time I have already shared you the polls. Please participate in it. So yes, so the main point is why are we conducting this data series every day for an hour? It's just to to be like hello. Okay. Okay. Yes. Actually, my net connection was a little bit. Okay. So I told you that why are we connecting this data R series, because of these data series are being conducted by the analytics Vidhya and also led by the top industry expert. So it is a fun way to understand the concept of data science, from the leading players in the tech data domain. And as the name suggests, it's a 1 hour dedicated to the data. So we are hopeful that these sessions are going to be very great source of enrichment and value adding to our community members. So as you know that today's session is about AI in banking. So AI is expected to have disruptive effect on most industry sectors, as you know, whether it's an automotive, banking, financial. So manifold compared to what the internet did over the last couple of decades, the adoption of AI in different enterprises has increased due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the pandemic hit the world, potential value of AI has grown significantly. So in this data session, we have Mahesh. He will discuss all about the three channels of banking where we see most of the AI application: front office, middle office, and the back office. So I hope you are really excited about this data session with us. So before we kick things off, we'll start the session. So I would like to remind you a few points. We are recording these sessions, and recording will be available on our YouTube channel. So I'll share you the YouTube link. You can watch that these sessions, or all the previous sessions which are held in Analytics Vidya. You can see those recordings in the YouTube channel. If you have any question, kindly refer to Q&A section for asking any question. So it's up to Mahesh whether he can answer during the session or by the end of the session. But your question will be answered. So we'll be sharing a feedback poll towards the end of at the end of the session. Please, you are also requested to be participated in that. So yeah, at the end, I would like to tell you about our speaker. Mahesh is a graduated from IIT Bombay. He's currently working as a senior manager data science at Accenture. Prior to that, he has majorly worked with top MNC banks like Barclays, Citibank, BNY Mellon, and he has also served as adjunct faculty and AI expert at prominent edtech institute like Upgrad, Stellar, Digital Vidya, etc. And working with these institutes as course curriculum advisor, coach, and mentor for several data science programs. He is a certified cloud practitioner in AWS, Azure, and GCP. So as you know, guys, these Mahesh is really experienced in data science domain, and hopefully you will learn a lot during the sessions. So over to you, Mahesh. The virtual stage is all yours. Please, you can share your screen and you can go ahead.
Thanks, Siddharth. Would you enable the video and screen share?
Okay, just I'm making the co-host.
Thank you.
So yeah, now you can share yours.
Okay, thanks. Can you see me? Okay, wonderful. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can someone confirm by saying an S if they can see my screen? Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. I welcome you all to this data session. I'm very glad to be amidst of you. And I hope you all are very much enthusiastic to learn about AI, data science, machine learning, call it what you may, or, in general, you may call it as data science as well. So thanks, Siddharth, for your kind words. By the way, I graduated from IIT Roorkee, and then I did my advanced management program from Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. And I have about 14 plus years of experience, and primarily I'm working in this field of data science and analytics. And I've been with Accenture for over a year now. And prior to that, I was with Citibank, BNY Mellon, Barclays, and I worked as, even in American Express when I was with Infosys. I was one of the early movers here. So today's session, the agenda, we would cover briefly about what is AI ML, how it is impacting our daily lives in a very brief way. Then the core topic which we would like to cover is how AI is being used in banking and financial services, and then what is the future. Okay, so those of you who might have read about how to become a data scientist might have figured out by now that domain knowledge is one of the key aspects to become a strong data scientist or a very good data scientist. So if I ask you, what are the 3 important skills which a data scientist would require, what would they be? Can someone type in the chat box? And I want this session to be interactive, so feel free to express yourself through the chat. And then towards the end, I'll also take your questions. Okay. So what are the 3 primary skills which any data scientist aspiring to be a data scientist would require? Okay, Karthik says stats, math. Okay, that's one of the skills. Programming, mathematics, business domain. Bang on. Thank you. So these 3 are very, very important things, along with structured thinking and problem solving ability. I think someone has already typed that. So structured thinking, problem solving ability, these are kind of soft skills and logic skills, but primarily one need to have statistics, programming, and domain knowledge, right? So as I understand through this poll, most of you are beginners or who have people from 0 to 5 years experience, right? So this is a stage which is where you decide in which domain you want to be, right? So if you are working for some banking clients for last 3-4 years, it makes sense for you to continue in that domain if you feel very strong about it, right? If you are working in retail or e-commerce, then it makes sense for you to continue in that field. Having said that, it doesn't mean that you cannot switch, but the only thing is domain knowledge has its advantage when you are a data scientist. So if you work in a particular field over a period of time, say 5 years, 10 years, right? You develop very strong domain knowledge of that field, which is very much helpful to be as part of your data science skill set. Okay, so that's the reason today we are going to cover about the applications of AI in banking and financial services. So if you might have already heard about various things of different use cases which are used in banking and finance, I'll give you one motivation point to understand why we need to understand the applications of AI in banking. Many people think that when you speak about AI, e-commerce and retail is a major domain where you see most of the applications. Agree? How many of you agree about that? If you agree with me, type a yes or no. Agreed. Which is the second sector which is giving the most number of jobs in AI? If you leave apart your retail and e-commerce, which is the second most sector? Dheeraj says financial services. Exactly. So about 30 to 35% of data science jobs are coming from banking and finance sector, which means this is a sector which is hugely investing in AI, right? So that is the reason it makes sense for you to attend this session. You will understand what are the different use cases which banks are trying to solve using AI. Is that a good motivation to begin the session today? If yes, please clap or show thumbs up or whatever way you can show your expression. Okay? Absolutely. Thank you so much for responding. Now, let me briefly talk a little bit about AI and ML. So, as per standard definition, ML is when you use statistics to basically predict something. So you try to spot patterns, correlations using mathematical models or computer models. You train your models on historical data. You try to figure out some patterns, some correlations, and you try to do some prediction. That is what we call as machine learning. Whereas artificial intelligence is a superset which combines machine learning, deep learning, NLP, RPA, robotic process automation, computer vision, NLP, NLG, NLU, natural language processing, natural language understanding, and natural language generation, right? And robotics. All this will form part of ML and AI. So if I have to define it through a diagram, this is how I would show it. If you see here, this whole circle, outside circle, is something which we call as AI in generic terms. But inside that lies your machine learning, and under that lies your deep learning. So deep learning is again a subset of machine learning where we train the artificial neural networks which behave like human brain. So basically they act on the principle of human brain wherein the neurons circulate the information, right? So deep learning is basically to mimic your brain to predict something. It works when we have tons of data, huge amounts of data, structured and unstructured data is required for deep learning algorithms to be trained. Machine learning can work even with a smaller volume of data, and then it is classic. It basically works as supervised and unsupervised machine learning. Supervised machine learning is used to do predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics. Unsupervised machine learning is prominently used in segmentation kind of work, right? I will not dwell deeper into these topics because I presume that you already have some exposure to what is machine learning, what is supervised, what is unsupervised, right? So today we will see what are the different applications of machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, natural language processing, etc., which are used in banking. Okay, some examples of AI wherein we use computer vision predominantly are, you might have heard about self-driving cars, which are trained on artificial neural networks. Some applications of NLP and NLG or speech synthesis, you might have heard about your personal assistants like Google Assistant, Siri, okay, Alexa, right? So all these are working on the principle of NLP, NLG, and NLU. Similarly, your Gmail inbox, spam box versus priority inbox, all these kind of classification problems are again part of supervised machine learning. And when banks try to profile their customers as high net worth individuals or people with greater wallet size are grouped into high net worth people, then there is a classification of people who are doing high volume transactions, right? So accordingly, bank will also segment their customers based upon the volume of their transactions, the value of their transactions. So today, all of us have forgot about dealing in cash. How many of you deal with cash today? All of us, either we do UPI payments or credit card payments or net banking transfers. How many of you literally carry thousands of rupees in your wallet? Is there anyone still who deals with too much of cash? No, right? So banking has become so easy, right? Earlier, you have to go to the bank and then ask them, fill one receipt, that transaction slip to withdraw the money. And slowly what happened? ATMs have replaced that habit of ours, right? So Then came ATMs through which we can withdraw money at any time of the day on any day, whether it is a working day for the bank or not, right? So we are able to withdraw the money. So technology and innovation is making lives easy, right? While it is doing that, it is very, very important that there is always some check on abuse of technology. As Madhurima says, fraud has increased. Yes, but there are systems to control the fraud, and AI is one of the best systems for fraud detection. And we will learn a little bit in deeper about fraud detection as we go deeper into the topic. Okay. Now, I have talked about deep learning. Deep learning's applications are immense. Now you might have heard about facial recognition, right? Next word prediction. So when you type something on WhatsApp, the next sentence, the next word comes up, right? The next word prediction can be done using RNNs, LSTMs, and advanced deep learning models, right? So like this, deep learning has its own set of use cases. Machine learning has its own set of use cases, and NLP, NLG, NLU has its own set of use cases. Depending upon what is the business problem you want to solve, you have to use the tool accordingly, right? So therefore, it's not that you use deep learning for every problem. No, you should understand what is the right tool to be used for a right problem. Only then you will be able to solve it in a proper way. Okay. Having said that, let's move on to the next slide. So these are the various components of AI. As I was showing the circle Venn diagram to you, if you see here, AI is called as a superset, wherein we see both supervised and unsupervised machine learning, deep learning, NLP, NLG, NLU, computer vision, object detection, image recognition, RPA, robotics. All these will constitute AI. With the help of robotics, manufacturing companies have increased their manufacturing capacity phenomenally. The car manufacturers, you will hardly find people in car manufacturing these days because every assembly segment is carried out by robotics and high powerful machines which are automated. Okay. So every aspect of our daily life has been impacted by AI in one way or the other way. Every morning when we get up, the first thing these days, fortunately or unfortunately, we do is look at our mobile, right? So we unlock it with our face. So face recognition is your first interaction where you are using deep learning. Similarly, security and surveillance. So we are using, our traffic cops are using video surveillance to monitor who are basically ignoring the traffic rules, who are breaking the traffic rules. So they are trying to capture your number plate and fine you by directly attaching your fines to your vehicle number, right? So social media platforms, we are seeing immense marketing happening through Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So there are so many ways people and businesses are trying to reach out to the youth, because these are widely used by youth and they are the ones who basically are more prone to spend. So AI is helping businesses gather business through various channels through which they can reach out to their end customers and they can keep their customers engaged. Okay. And navigation, e-commerce, you all know how e-commerce is recommending you different products. I'm using product 1, it will tell that people who bought product 1 have also bought product 2. So naturally, I may go through it, and if I see and I like it, I may buy it, right? So the entire e-commerce is dependent wholly on AI systems, which are doing a lot of recommendations, which are helping you choose the best product, giving you an experience which is seamless so that you engage with them more. And as you engage with them more, you bring them more business. So ultimately, every company is trying to increase its business, reduce its costs, and improve its efficiency through applications of AI, right? So we will be focusing primarily on banking and finance sector today, and I will dwell deeper into this topic now. Now, another motivation point. Why do you think artificial intelligence is necessary in banking? A bank is just supposed to give loans, supposed to record transactions. Everything was going fine. So why do you think we need to use AI? And the obvious answer for that is to improve efficiency, to save costs, and to improve customer experience and time to market. So when I apply for a loan to a particular bank, 15 years back or 20 years back, how much time it used to take? Do you have any idea? Any of your parents or someone who applied, any idea about that? I know you all are Gen X and you might not have seen those old days, but typically the answer is that it would take at least a month. Okay, at least 1 month it used to take. The file has to go from one person to another person to another person, and there is to be a lot of background check, etc., which used to happen. And then you need to have people known to you who can forward that file, and there used to be a lot of bribing also, which used to happen in the whole process, because wherever there is human tendency. Okay, people don't used to check things properly and take some bribes and process things, right? The entire process was manual. Now, when you apply for a loan, within how much time do you get the loan? Provided all your parameters are proper, you have a good credit score, right? Week, okay, that's too late. 1 day, maximum 1 day, okay? Okay, just you say yes, within 24 hours, you'll get a amount deposited in your account, provided you have good credit score, less than 1 day, sometimes within 5-6 hours as well. What do you think is propelling this kind of consumer lending? Yes, there is pre-approved loans concept also. So if you have good credit score, how do you think the credit score is determined? Credit score is determined based upon your spending patterns and your repayment capacity, correct? So what if someone does not have credit card, he has never taken credit, will he get a loan or not? In that case, what are the parameters one should look at? Salary is one parameter, sure. Property, work history, exactly. So all these points are very valid, right? There are many more things which banks look these days, okay? They look at your social media behavior. They look at your spending habits, okay? If you are using your debit card for how much you deal with cash, how much you deal with, how much you deal with UPIs, what are the products you are frequently purchasing? Based upon, they decide whether you are a person who can give them more business. Are you a person who is conscious of his income? So basically, there is lot of behavioral, there's lot of information based upon your spending patterns, behaviors, and behavior of customer is also studied. So what kind of a car do you own? Is it a red and passionate car? Have you broken your speed limits anytime? So there are a lot of informations which they gather from first party, third party sources, and only then they approach and decide how to give a loan. Okay, that's some small application which I explained. I'll talk more about how we deal about credit risk, how do we do underwriting process as we progress. So one motivation point is that 80% of banks are aware that they have to leverage the benefits which AI offers. Okay, as per Business Insider, which is one of the best bank magazine which covers businesses, it is suggested that by 2023 banks are projected to save a whopping 447 billion amount. Okay, this much of amount will be saved by using AI applications. Now, this shows why banking and finance sector is one of the prominent sectors which is recruiting huge number of data scientists because they have many things which they can improve using AI. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. So basically, any bank will have three parts to it. One is front office, three channels basically: front office, middle office, and back office. Front office is your branches or people or websites through which your customers interact with you. Okay. Middle office is where like departments like your compliance, your KYC, and things like that remain. And back office is where your operations happen, like credit underwriting and things like that. Okay. So according to Business Insider's research, the savings opportunity on front office is about 200 billion. In middle office is about 217 billion. And in the back office is about 31 billion. All together, when you put together, it will become 447 billion, the number which I just spoke from Business Insider. Now, is this the limit? No, this is just one particular example and their research which suggested. There is a huge, immense scope where we deal with different kind of use cases which we can solve using AI. Now, let us come to each of this channel and understand what are the different use cases which we can solve using AI. When you go to front office, you have an inquiry if you want to understand your balance in your savings account. How many of you go to the bank to do this inquiry? Do you go to your bank? Is there a better way? You can go and check just in your app. The next best thing is you can call the IVR, correct? The another thing is you can just send them SMS. So how do you think all these things have been possible in the last 10 years? Through technology, right? Now, what if you feel that, I'm not getting answers to all my questions to IVR, but if there is any way I can ask questions to someone and they can answer according to my personal questions, right? So if I have any personal questions related to my bank, am I eligible for a credit card? So who will determine that? A person sitting in the bank will have to look at your credit history and he has to say that, right? Now, what if I remove this agent and instead replace with a chatbot? You just ask any question to the chatbot. If it is an intelligent chatbot and if it is trained on millions of records and right set of keywords, it will reply even at midnight. It need not be a working bank day, correct? How many of you agree to this? Right. So earlier banks used to maintain call centers. And in those call centers, they used to have people, hundreds of people who used to work for that bank to solve the problems of their customers. All that has gone down now. If there were 100 people earlier, there might be 5 or 10 people now who is doing that job. All thanks to chatbots. How are chatbots based on? Chatbots are based upon NLP, NLU technology, natural language understanding, natural language processing. They are trained on tons of data. The systems are equipped to call the respective APIs based upon the keywords given by the person who is asking. And whenever they see those kind of keywords, they will hit their dictionary and hit that particular API and retrieve you the required information. So a small innovation in the form of conversational banking has solved the problem of spending thousands of crores by giving salaries to people who used to call and answer these questions. And many a times, if your chatbots are not properly handling all the questions, there is a way to direct that person to a proper customer care executive also. So this is what we call as improving customer experience through technology, wherein AI can humans coexist, but at the same time, businesses and enterprises can leverage technology to improve operational efficiency and also to ensure customer experience is always high. Many a times it may happen, sometimes it may happen that your chatbot is not able to answer your question. In that case, it can just show a message, sorry, I'm not able to understand you. I will redirect your question to our executive. Okay. In this way, your chatbots are going to help. Similarly, your chatbots need to be trained upon different kinds of account. If it's a loan account, credit card account, savings account, okay, property and insurance account, like that, every domain will have its own unique set of training features on which your chatbots need to be trained in order to access the benefit of conversational banking. Now, one of our friends has mentioned about fraud, right? So many a times you see that with the advent of technology, there are also people who try to do frauds, right? And classic fraud cases existed not only with the advent of technology, but before also. So many a times you might have heard about anti-money laundering, right? So anti-money laundering is what? Terrorist organizations, they try to transfer money through several accounts in different cities to different places. So there are various surveillance use cases like within anti-money laundering, many people try to chiffon funds from few normal accounts to fake accounts and then collect that money and buy guns and drugs and narcotics. So all this kind of network they will lay in such a way that they go undetected many times. Now it is the responsibility of the banks to ensure that they do not use their platform to allow this kind of anti-money laundering. So earlier banks used to have some rule-based systems which they have collected by processing huge amount of data through their business knowledge. They have defined some rules. So in banks, they use a tool called as Mantis. Okay. Now Mantis is gradually replaced with AI ML models, but still some old banks use it. So Mantis has very business rules defined. And if any transaction basically breaks that rule, that particular account and transaction is highlighted so that it could be further investigated by the operations team. Okay. Now imagine there are 10 million transactions or probably 100 million transactions are happening through a bank every day. And suppose even 5% of those transactions are breaking the rules. How many transactions? Almost suppose there are 10%. So there is 1 million transactions which are breaking the rule. So my operations team has to go and look into all of these transactions manually and see whether they are genuinely fraud or they are genuine. Okay, whether it's fraud or not, a person has to decide that and further write some reason why he thinks so and then move it further, right? Just by applying AI ML technology and learning from historical data, I was able to reduce almost this volume by 85% in one of the use cases I have solved. So I have reduced the operation team's burden by 85% just by doing this. So that is the power of AI and ML. That is the huge cost saving. And now I can use my operations team to look more focusedly on the remaining 15% cases, because if banks do not detect these use cases, they have to pay huge penalties. You might have heard about HSBC Bank paying this much, Citibank paying this much penalty because of some undetected fraud cases. So this is at AML and bigger levels. And many times credit card fraud also happens. You might have got immediately a message from your bank when someone tried to use your credentials, right? So imagine you are sitting in India. You performed a transaction today morning at a general store using your credit card. Within 2 hours of that, there is a transaction which happens in USA. Humanly, it is not possible. Even you take a jet, you cannot reach America, right? So distance is one parameter and the speed of transaction is another. So velocity of the transaction is something which helps you in determining whether it's a fraud or not. Similarly, there are various features which you build based upon the customer's demographic details, his transaction details, and you build effective models which help you determine the fraud, right? So fraud detection is very, very crucial, because if they do not do it, the banks do not do this detection, then banks are liable to pay you, right? So that is why banks immediately send a message. If this transaction is not done by you, call this number or do this, right? So by doing that, what they are ensuring is they are going, basically banks also have an insurance against fraud, right? So they do penalize, they instead of getting penalized, they will cover that through insurance. Okay. So we as customers should always take care that we do not trust sites which are not trustable. That is one way we can do that, but still sometimes the data may get leaked. So we have to ensure that we report to the banks immediately as end customers. That is why banks send you time and again SMSs telling you about how to prevent fraud. Bank will never ask you for any OTP, do not share any OTPs, etc. Right? So all these educational initiatives are carried out by banks just to save their own penalties. Okay. So they have replaced huge cost by adopting to technology and AI-based systems. And at the same time, they are spending some cost in educating the end customer so that their experience is seamless and the customer continues with the bank. So you see, behind every AI model, there is a business reason. That's the reason which I'm trying to highlight and going to introduce you to some use cases which are happening. Okay. Next is about underwriting. So whenever you take a loan, you sign a set of documents. How many of you do that? We all do that, correct? So how do we determine the risk associated with a person or a firm before giving the loan? Can someone just type few parameters? What are the different parameters we look at? Someone said the bank balance, the credit score, the property, right? Apart from this, they will look also any crime history of the person, the age, the profession, the institutions from where they have studied, correct? Right? And similarly, they will also look at your number of dependents, which city you live in, where is your property, in which zone, is it any earthquake zone or volcanic zone, right? For example, you stay very closer to a seismic wave zone. It means that your properties also have some risk attached to it. Okay. So many a times you will see that similarly, an insurance company, before it gives the policy to you, for example, you ask for a 10 crore policy, but your age, your BMI, your smoking and drinking habits, if you have all this, then probably they will not be able to give you that much risk cover. So they will give you probably a lesser risk cover and at the same time charge a higher premium, right? So underwriting is the process which determines what is the risk associated with the person by looking at multiple factors, which includes your bank balances, it includes your transaction behavior, it includes your social media behavior. So they capture their data not only to the banking systems, but also they capture their data through various third-party data sources. Okay. And especially for people whom they think that they may not be able to repay or that proposition could be risky. In such cases, they take a lot more time than to someone who has fixed income, like a salaried person, right? So this underwriting process is a very time-consuming process, especially at least even for people who are in retail sector. This was little easier, but then when it comes to firms, for example, companies seeking loan, right? So for such companies, we have to do a thorough analysis because this loan will be in crores, right? So we have to do a thorough risk assessment before we issue any loans to such companies. So this entire process used to take anywhere between 1 to 6 months sometimes. Okay, but with the advent of AI technology, let me explain this one case to you. For example, when someone is applying for a company loan, right? A company seeks loan from a bank or an insurance, it's trying to cover risk through insurance. There is a lot of underwriting processes involved. So first they have to fill the forms, okay? And these forms need to be properly filled. If anything is not proper, there is some discrepancy, then it will go back to the person who has filed for the loan. He has to correct it and send it back. Okay, and then again manually that person will assess it. Then he has to read through the company reports for last 10 years. What is the performance of the company? There will be tons of earning reports which will be spreading across hundreds of PDF documents. Though there are actuaries and people who are experts in the area who will study through those balance sheets, through the earning call reports, and then they will highlight sections, and like that they will assess the risk of the person. And this entire process, as I said, will definitely take a huge amount of time. Now you submit a e-form. If there is anything which is not filled, it is highlighted then and there. You try to scan the PDF documents through OCR technique, optical character recognition. You read your PDFs through that, and you collect the unstructured data, you make it structured, analyze the keywords and highlight them, keyword extraction. You can do summarization of the documents using extractive summarization or abstractive summarization. So you can use transformers, okay, you can use BERT techniques to do this. And by doing all this, what you are doing before issuing the loan, you are doing a thorough assessment of the customer, which has improved in a very significant way than the manual process, right? Of course, after doing all this, someone will look at that manually, but there are many things which we could automate using NLP, NLU, right? And then we are able to collect all these data points. Apart from this, we'll also collect data from different data sources and then assess the risk of that customer. And accordingly, we will charge him the premium. Okay, if it is an insurance policy, we will charge him the premium. If it is a loan, we will decide the interest rate accordingly, and we'll determine how much amount we can sanction given the worth of the properties he is having or she is having. So this is one simple end-to-end process where during the application process, we can speed up the entire thing using collection of data through forms, which can be assessed using regex patterns, NLP. Similarly, while doing the background verification, we can read through immense number of documents through OCR techniques and NLP and NLU. And then we can build machine learning systems which will help us come up with a risk score for that particular customer. And then the human involvement would also be there to understand what is the right amount. So this entire underwriting process is it was so manually intensive. Now hardly 20 to 30% is manual. Rest all has been automated with the help of AI. This is one just example. Similarly, your stock price movements or tracking the market trends is another area where we have been very much using AI and ML. Okay. Similarly, in markets as well, in stock markets as well, there are various fraud behaviors which happen. How many of you heard about front running, which was popularly done by one of the CNBC news channel recently in the last 6 months? Okay, so front running is you are privy to some information and you basically try to either sell off your shares because you know the information already at a higher price, or you buy at a very low price and then suddenly some information comes out in the wide network and then you sell it off, right? So this kind of behavior is called as front running. Similarly, there is spoofing. Okay, so there are so many such fraudulent behaviors which are observed even in stock markets. Okay, so it is the responsibility of the banks to detect such kind of such kind of fraud which is happening in the market and report it to the regulators. Otherwise, regulators, when they come to know, they charge a huge penalty to the banks. Another use case, as I said, is credit risk loan and credit decisions, whether to issue a credit card or a loan to the customer or not. Similarly, assessing risk management. Okay, so giving the right price and the right premium amount of interest for a particular loan. And chatbots. Chatbots are basically to improve the customer experience by training these NLP based models, wherein any customer asks any queries, they get the answers at any point of time. If the chatbot itself is not able to understand a particular question, it gets redirected to a voice based person who basically assists him. So why is customer engagement so important? Because if customer is happy, he will give you more business. If customer is not happy, he will go to a competitor. Simple logic, right? So how do you keep your customer happy? By giving good service. So the good service could be ease of banking. The good service could be giving him assistance whenever it is required, right? And also otherwise giving him the right set of recommendations at right point of time, so that he will be prone to do banking with you more when compared with other banks, right? For example, you go to HDFC Bank credit card, they don't have their own app to look at their, if a customer wants to look at his spend pattern or history, etc., they don't have their own credit card app. You have to go through some other app, and there also the all details are not there. If you have to pay them directly through the app, you cannot do. You have to go through some other medium. So that is very irritating. But if you go to ICICI Bank app, the credit card is included, the home loan is included, the savings account is, everything is there in a single app, right? It works like a charm. You don't feel like going to a bank also many times. Same cases with Citibank. It hardly has one branch in major city. Of course, they are closing their operations, retail operations, but Citibank, they used to say that it's a bank where you need not go for anything. You just can work through their app or website. So that's the brand image you create, right? So seamless experience when you give to your customer, and it is possible through AI, that is when you will make your customers loyal. That is when you can derive more business out of them. So customer engagement is very much important to prevent customer churn. It is 10 times costlier to acquire a new customer than retaining an old customer. Okay, so that is why it is very, very important that we employ the right kind of engagement and right kind of experience is given to the person whenever he's browsing through your website or your app, or he's using any system. Okay, similarly, as a bank, it is important that I should protect my interests also. Therefore, it becomes very, very important that I should not issue loans to people who are not worthy, right? So I should be able to clearly tell them the reason why. In US and other countries, they have to tell them the reason why you cannot issue the loan, right? So we need to have proper factors through which we can address these concerns. Okay, so and then having different channels through which you can interact with your end customer, right? So sending too many SMS or calling too many times the end customer also irritates them. So you need to understand the need of the customer by collecting their data. So every app, every website is collecting cookies, every app is asking for permissions. So what they are doing, they are trying to understand the behavior of end customer so that they can basically understand and tune their offerings accordingly to the end customer. And when you are looking for something and you get immediately some call from your bank regarding that, that is when there is a good tendency that the bank can extract some business out of you, because you are looking for it, you got some call, both win-win, right? So that's the way hyper personalization is determined. Then there is also intelligent automation you can do. There was this one use case where my technology team used to basically process incidents, right? So whenever so I used to work in trades domain. So whenever a particular trade used to fail, it used to fail for some reason. So the bank's operations team will look into that failed trade, and then it will assess what is the reason, and they will fill the required details and do straight through processing of the trade. Now, over a period of time, right, there is a huge volume of these transactions, and the operations team size has to increase. And due to this, the costs have increased for the bank. So the user has come to me and asked me, is there something we can do using machine learning? So the first thing was we had to assess whether it's a feasible thing to do machine learning solution. So we have tried to predict what would be the volume of such exceptions which will be coming in the next 1 month. Based upon our last 12 months data, we did forecasting to find out that in the next month we will expect get this many tickets or exceptions, so that accordingly they have to staff the operations team to look into it. This was the very beginning of the problem. Then we thought, why can't we automate it using machine learning? So what we did was we collected the data for which the exceptions have come and what was the historical resolution offered by the operations team. So the operations team, whenever this kind of error has come, has fixed the issue, and then we had the label data for it. So what we did was simple. We trained our models. First of all, we understood the business context. We took the business domain knowledge download from that team. We have created features which will help us in determining the cause of that particular exception. So when we do some simple exploratory data analysis, we figured out that 35% of exceptions are because of one field in which there is an improper value or there is no value. Okay. Now, this is our lowest hanging fruit. So if we can automate, populate this particular field using machine learning by training our models from the historically corrected data by the operations team, we are able to reduce 35% of cost, or we are able to improve the efficiency by 35%. So we did train our models, and what happens in whenever such kind of exception scenario or fraud detection problems come, usually the exceptions data would be lower or fraud data would be very less when compared with the actual normal data, right? So you have to do class balancing, you have to do oversampling, undersampling, and try out various things. If not, you use the right set of metrics through which you determine what should be your model measurement metrics, whether it should be precision or recall or accuracy, and accordingly you decide how the model is performing. So this entire exercise, which started with just forecasting what would be the exceptions in the coming month, ended up creating a model to eliminate about 35% of such exceptions. This is how, when you start small by doing small things, you basically automate a thing which basically improves 35% of your cost. So this is how machine learning can be used even in automating stuff which is repetitive in nature. Wherever you can find patterns using data, you can employ machine learning. So as I said, it's not only risk management, it's not only compliance where you can use NLP, deep learning, it's not only forecasting techniques, but also you can use classic supervised machine learning classification models where required. So in this way, you can see that the entire spectrum of data science skills, right from predictive analytics to classification to segmentation, like clustering, or whether it is document processing using computer vision, image recognition, whether it is chatbots, every aspect of data science and AI can be employed in banking. And that is the reason banks have realized the importance, and they are the #2 industry which offers huge number of jobs in this area. Okay, so that's something which I had in store for you. I know we are almost at the time. Siddharth,
Yeah.
do you have any questions?
Yeah, actually, I was just like to tell you guys that I have launched the feedback poll. Please kindly participate in it. I can see still 40% of the participant haven't participated in it. So yeah, Mahesh, we have few questions in the Q&A part, and we have few questions in the chat box also. So let's just cover from the Q&A section first. If you can
Right.
find that, yeah.
Sure. Domain is easy to choose, but we face difficulty in choosing among ML, deep learning, AI, and further drill down into multiple algorithms for data. Must kindly help on this at the end of the session. Okay. So I don't know who asked this question. I'm not able to see the name for some reason. Okay.
Rajat Jain.
So Rajat, choosing the right algorithm is a skill which you will develop with time. Okay. But as I said earlier, start with the simplest one. If it is giving you the required result, then stick to it. Otherwise, move to the complex ones. Reason being, especially in a industry like banking, explainability is a very crucial factor. And especially regulators and compliance people, they may not be highly educated to understand the nuances of black box models or deep learning models. So you can still explain the deep learning models using explainable AI concepts, but still if they are adamant, then simpler model is always the best model. I hope that answers your question. If so, please type yes in the chat. Okay. I hope it answers. Lucky Mishra asks how ML is used in ESG-based data analytics. Are we talking about environment, sustainability, and governance, Lucky? So basically, every bank and every industry is becoming very, very responsible these days towards the carbon emissions which they emit. Okay. In fact, Accenture works predominantly in ESG team where we have tools where basically every company publishes their sustainability report at the year end and also their vision for sustainability. So what we can do is we can score every company based upon the ESG parameters, and that helps these companies understand where they stand with respect to their competitors and with respect to other industries as well. And then once they understand that, they can take initiatives to reduce their carbon emissions and become net zero. In fact, there are many emphasis on ESG principles these days because by 2050, almost many of the big companies, Fortune 500 companies, have targets to make net zero carbon emissions. So yeah, definitely ESG-based data analytics is happening. May not be happening directly in the bank's captive unit, but consulting firms like McKinsey, Accenture, etc., we do have pods which are basically taking care of this. I hope that answers your question, Lucky. Okay, I don't know what you mean by how APP implemented in the banks. Let me skip this question. If the bank is adamant on rule-based engines for AML, can we use AI to define or set the rules in the engine? Banks are adamant on rule-based engines because they are not seeing value in your models. Simple question. So you have to see how you can tune your model, or you can look at statistical modeling, which is a version of employing statistics to answer the, or basically employ statistics to detect the pattern which covers the rule. Okay, so as I was speaking about trade surveillance scenarios, in such scenarios, sometimes it becomes very, very difficult to teach a pattern to ML models. So we resort to statistical feature-based modeling there, where we come up with a score for every kind of situation. We come up with a logic to emulate a cycle, and then accordingly we basically create a statistical feature-based scoring model instead of a direct ML model. We can also, because explainability is the key, that is why they are very afraid to move away from rules. Does that answer your question, Kiran? Okay. I don't know if Kiran is listening. Okay. Just a minute. Okay. What is our next question? Next question is banking industry used to, how to drill down if one level is set of extrapolation? I didn't answer this. This question is incomplete. Kashish, how to drill down if one level is set of extrapolation? I need more context there. Is banking industry used to improve their term deposit portfolio? Used AI to improve their term deposit portfolio? Yeah, they can do that. They can pitch the senior citizens saying that earn risk-free returns. Our term deposit rates have been revised. So they basically send SMSs to people. So that's based upon basically transaction. I mean, term deposits are not that lucrative for banks anyways. At the end of the day, it is the ROI through the investment, but definitely banks can attract people to do that as well using AI. Especially they do it for high net worth individuals, okay, in wealth management sector and also in investment banking. So especially when you find high net worth individuals, the information goes to their sister companies as well, which will take care of it. Is all banks started using AIML? Most of the banks are using it. If they are not, they are going to become obsolete. Karthik, Kashish, how to include COVID factors for data science loan historic data? I think we have surpassed COVID. Irrespective of COVID, the banks always look at various factors involving the consumers, the end customers, banking history, his spend patterns. In fact, if anything, the spend patterns online have increased, and capturing that data from third party is not difficult for banks. So I think that can be easily done. But as I said, these are like once in a while kind of moments. COVID has its impact for about 6 months when it started, but later on it was not that prominent. Okay. How do we access data for bank domain as they are not open? So Kaggle is a good source. They have some cooked up synthetic data there. So you can look at classic segmentation use cases and credit card fraud use cases, and you can start building your portfolio there. Okay. And also you can try to search based upon banking and insurance sectors. From there, you will get data for different use cases within these two sectors. Next question is for you to answer, Siddharth. Recording of the session, I think it would be available. Within 2 days, they may send you a link. Am I right, Siddharth?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Is there any framework which is currently used in banking to implement AI-related scenario considering responsible AI perspective? Of course, every model we create has to pass the responsible AI things. Especially in consulting industry, we have pods to look how our AI is not biased towards any section. It's not unfair to any gender, race, religion. Okay, so it should be completely on the basis of data. It should not be gender specific. Okay, so that care is taken. Having said that, there could be still some things which might not have been solved yet, but RAI, that is responsible AI, is going to be very, very key for any sector for that matter, not only banking. Any sector should be very much responsible towards their models they build, because it's the principle of AI that we should not be biased or unfair to any individual or entity, gender, race, religion, nationality. Okay. How bank uses AI to improve their term? I think this question is answered. Thank you. To implement new ML models and algorithms, does bank customer should have invest for infrastructure and applications or listing infrastructure? Yes, banks need to have some kind of infrastructure, like they need to have on-premise systems, Hadoop, PySpark-based systems to handle huge amounts of data, or they should have their private or public cloud licenses through which they can solve these problems. Many of the banks used to do POCs earlier, which used to happen on a very small scale system. But now we have to move out from POC system to productionizing the problem. So of course, you need a good infrastructure to process tons of data. Okay, so high processing capacity and required, many things are open source now, but still, open source, if you can leverage them, you still need to physically support it through the right infrastructure. Okay, banks are little slow in making the changes, but eventually they have to go there. Otherwise, there is not much left for them, and they may become obsolete. Okay, let's move to chat-based questions now. Okay, how does cloud help in implementing AI-based use cases in banking? Cloud helps phenomenally. So cloud offers you immense processing capacity to handle tons of data. Cloud has its own set of services, AI services, which can be leveraged by the banks. Okay, even for AML kind of scenarios, there are graph-based databases which are very helpful in understanding use cases like layering, etc., which is very, very crucial. Okay, so you read about the services offered by the cloud systems, go through AWS or GCP. Every major cloud service provider has a lot of AI services for offering, which can be used by banks to automate several things and also detect such kind of frauds. Do all these things can be done using cloud. So simple answer is yes, they have to. If they are not, they will, because there is a limit to how much data we can process using on-premises, and physically investing upfront that much capex to buy those servers is really costly for any bank. It's not only buying but also maintaining them, and also in the process of becoming ESG compliant. If you have on-premises server, probably your carbon emissions would also be higher. So looking at all these perspectives, I'm sure banks would soon adopt a hybrid kind of cloud, wherein they will have their sensitive data on private clouds and other processing can happen on public clouds. And these are, banks usually do not go for public clouds because of the security and concerns and all those things. But cloud-based providers are really taking care of this, and then the problems are getting solved. Okay, we'll see. So a lot of banks are now adopting GCP and AWS in private public process. How automated check processing happens through AIML. Signatures are identified, object detection matching happens, and if it passes through that, then the check processing happens, Madhu. Yes, AI and AML augments and supplements human side of loan processing. Archidona, you are right. Do we have any other questions, Siddharth? I think I have covered most of them.
Yes, I guess we have covered most of them. Actually, we have one question from Anonymous Identity, a brief explanation on automated check processing.
So normally check processing happens where, they use object detection and computer vision techniques. And I personally have not worked on it, but I have the idea how it can be done. So usually 100% match is not done. There is a threshold level which is set, which could be definitely 80% and above. And depending upon the pattern of signatures which is there, banks usually take your signatures not only in one place, but 3-4 places, and they will match it against all those 3-4. And if the collective score is more than 80% and above, then they usually request you to sign it. So this automated check processing, that is how it happens. And of course, your checkbook will have its own OCR reader. There will be the account linked to that checkbook page. So all those validations will also happen in the background. So Bijoy, I hope that covers your question. Okay. Thanks, Siddharth. Anything else? Do let me know. And guys,
Yeah,
I really appreciate your time. I hope I could benefit you in some way. If so, please, if you want to, you can follow me on LinkedIn. So if you have my LinkedIn link, you can share Siddharth here.
I have already shared your LinkedIn profile many times.
Yeah, I do keep sharing interesting developments which happen not only in banking, but in AI and ML area. So if you follow me, you can keep yourself updated with these latest developments. And thank you once again, everyone, for joining on a Saturday afternoon. And happy to help you in any ways I can. And over to you, Siddharth.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Mahesh, for this wonderful, wonderful sessions, and hope you guys have liked this sessions. And thanks a lot, Mahesh, on the behalf of Analytics Vidhya. And I would like to thank you for your time and for your delivering such a wonderful sessions. I'm sure our audience found it insightful, and hopefully we can conduct more sessions with you live in the future, right? And so I hope you guys have participated in the feedback poll. If not, I request you to please fill in the poll about the feedback, as it helps us to conduct more such sessions. And so
Yeah,
yes,
do provide your feedback. That helps me in how I can tune the next sessions if I give.
absolutely, absolutely. So as I have already shared you the recording links, YouTube channel, please do follow Analytics Vidya and to get more updates regarding the past sessions and all. So you will find this recording in the our YouTube channel, and I've already posted the link there in the chat box. So yes, and we have more upcoming sessions on. Let me confirm the date of the session. Just give me a second. Okay, so we have a upcoming session on 10th October. That is day after tomorrow, on convolutional neural network for image recognition. And then on 11th October, we have extracting value from data. Guys, please register on this data series and please do participate in it. Thank you guys for attending, and I hope these sessions are really helpful for you. So if you have any questions, participants, please let me know in the chat section. I'm waiting. I hope you have got all the informations, all the LinkedIn profiles of Mahesh, uh, recording link, YouTube channel link, and all the links for the upcoming data sessions. Yes, I guess we are coming to an end, and yeah, sure, Stephen, we'll organize such more sessions. Uh, you can check our analytics with the website. There are many sessions which are being organized, and also you can check the YouTube where you can see the recorded videos. They are really great. Yes, Mahesh, thank you for your time, and yes. So I'm ending this poll, and please, and so you can see the result, Mahesh, if you can.
Yeah, thanks. This is really encouraging. I hope I can, come back and share my knowledge in a much wider way in the future. Thank you so much, Analytics Vidya, for facilitating this. And I'm glad I could add some value to all these folks who have joined today. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Have a nice day, Mahesh.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, participants. Have a good day. Bye.